present to you the NBRC video. We hope you enjoy it. We put a lot of time into it. Bear in mind, we're not professionals at this, but it's a first, as far as we know, a video. The first person we'd like to introduce to you will be George Valiska. Then we'd like to follow with Rick Shaning. Some of the other people that you'll probably be seeing will be John Castro, Floyd Fowler, the one and only Tony DeCero, Jim Brady, Jerry Bayman and his birds, myself and my birds. The reason that we're basically only showing my birds and Jerry's is because most of the fellows that sent in pictures, the video, had a lot of trouble with the cameras, or trouble with their birds or whatever. Jerry and I have had time to play with it and develop a filming system. And if I left out some names on the video as far as people that are seen in it, my apologies, and I hope you enjoy it.
Okay.
My name is George Valiska. I'm the current Secretary-Treasurer of the National Birmingham Roller Club. When I was asked to make some segments on rollers, it was difficult to determine which direction to go. When they say for beginners, do they mean someone that's never raised pigeons before, or someone that's raised them for 2 or 3 years, or whatever? But I'm just going to just plunge in and cover several segments. So I thought I'd start with the beginning, which is my loft. When I started into pigeons, everyone in the neighborhood said, well, you can't have pigeons in a nice neighborhood like this. I said, yes, I can, if I do it right. And the first thing I did, I went to my neighbors on either side of me and I said, I want to raise pigeons, and here's some literature on it. This is what I'm doing. This is what I'm going to do. Anytime you want, all you have to say is, get rid of your pigeons, and I'll get rid of my pigeons, no questions asked. Well, it's been 9 years here now, and no one's ever asked me to get rid of my pigeons. So let's take a look at my loft and what I've done. This segment is being filmed on June 2nd, 1986. And this is my loft. And I surrounded it with flowers and gardens and shrubs to make it look attractive, so the neighbors or anybody else couldn't complain. And for my own benefit too. I wanted a nice looking area. So, as you can see, the flowers, shrubs, lawn are all well taken care of. My loft is 13 by 20. Stop. I told you that my loft was 13 by 20. It's really 13 by 22. I have a breeder compartment that's 6 foot, 7 foot wide, and all the other compartments are 4 foot wide. And I have these doors in each compartment with the traps just above it. So the birds land on the main roof, then flutter down to the aviary roof, and then come in through the traps. This is the end of my loft. I have a window and an entrance. Actually, I'm only going to be in this loft 2 more weeks, because in 2 weeks I'm moving to Pennsylvania and building a new loft. Basically the same idea, except I'm going to have the hallway in the center with 4-foot compartments on either side, and a breeder loft on the end. So I like the arrangement a lot. So come on in, let's take a look at what we have inside. Actually, there are 5 compartments in here, but because of the camera angle, we probably can only get the last 3. But at the beginning, we have a breeder compartment that's 7 foot wide and is 9 foot long. And I have 15 nesting boxes in here. Then next, I have 4 compartments that are 4 by 8 compartments. And these are my kit boxes. We're now in the breeder loft. I have 15 nesting boxes here, and so I'm breeding 15 pairs. And this is some of my birds. As you notice, I have some individual nesting sperms. I feed my birds from a tray on the floor, and I have a water fountain in the aviary. By putting the water fountain in the aviary, I don't get water all over the floor. You keep it nice and dry and sanitary. I also have a continuous supply of grit. For nesting, and here's a couple of yellows that I bred. I don't want to get involved in controversy right away about breeding for color or not breeding for color. I agree. If your birds don't spin, then you should worry about spin. But these birds have been together for 30 years, and this is all one family in here, and I find out that doesn't make any difference what I breed together, I'm going to get spin. So I don't have to worry about spin. So what I'm doing is breeding for a family of whites and a family of yellows. And this is the family of yellows that I've been working on. I finally got, I've had a number of yellows, but when I breed them together, I don't necessarily always get consistent yellows. Well, this year I bred these together, stepbrother and stepsister, and out of 6 birds they produced this year, all have been yellows. So as far as color is concerned, I'm on my way. Now I'm going to see about the spin, whether it's more or less than average. This is a pair of yellows that the cock and hen that go with these youngsters. And although the cock seems a little bit large, they are producing smaller type or medium-sized birds. This is the basis of the family of whites I have. This is a daughter out of a white and a very light red grizzle, and the cock is a stepson out of the same pair. And again, I'm going for the family of whites, and she's the basis. They produced a number of whites already for me. I probably have 11 produced out of them in the 2 years, and 9 of them are white. So I'm very consistently white out of there. I kept breeding white red grizzles together, trying to develop whites, and eventually I narrowed it down to this pair, and I have a light red grizzle cock with a silver red bar hen, and they produced the whites that I'm breeding out of now. And they just 2 days ago hatched a couple of youngsters here. Then we're going to get the last one down. Okay. Here's the nesting fronts that I use, basically. We're taking a little bit of different shot here, going through a perch and through the screen. See what comes out. I think you stay with it too long there. I've bred 4 rounds and divided this compartment into 2 parts, 4 foot on the Avery side and 4 foot on this side, so I can segregate my birds. For example, the 3rd round is furthest away from us, and the latest round, the 4th round, is nearest to us in the compartment. This is the 1st round I bred in January, and I've been flying them quite a bit in the beginning, but in recent months I've been going down to my Pennsylvania home working on it, so I haven't done a whole lot of flying with them, but I have an awful lot of hope for this particular kit. I think it's going to be one of the best ones I've ever bred. Okay, I have these 5 compartments, and each compartment is separate, and I have a lock that I put on them, and I just take this padlock off and swing the door down, and the birds will go up, like this. The winds. Wow, look at that. Okay. Anyhow, the wind's blowing the wrong way. It's tending to blow them behind the trees, and so we can film an additional segment on another day. But right now, okay, the wind is blowing very strong, but nevertheless, I try to acclimate my birds to increased weather so that they can fly just about in most weathers. And like right now, it's blowing them pretty far away, but we'll film some more on another day of them, see if we can get some better spinning shots. The next segment I want to talk to you about is training youngsters, how I do. Like I mentioned before, I live in a very nice neighborhood, and I have to train the birds to land on this loft and nowhere else. They're my birds, and I don't want them landing on my house. So I know my neighbors don't want them landing on their house. In fact, I don't want my birds landing on the wires, the trees, or anything else except my loft. So I go to great lengths to train them in a particular way. And it does two things. One, it teaches them to land on my loft only. And second, it helps the kidding process. First thing I have is a cage, box. In 1, 2, 3 sides with one side open. And I put this up against the trap, like this. And I put the youngsters in starting about 2 weeks old. And for about a week I teach them to trap. I put them in here when it's feed time, and they have to come in through the trap to be fed. The first couple times we have to push them through the trap. But that's all right, let them sit in there for an hour anyhow. Okay? After you've taught them to trap for about a week, I take the youngsters and I start throwing them. I come over here real close because they can hardly flap their wings. And I'll throw them and they land on the roof. And each day I'll go a little bit further, throw them and they land on the roof. By the end of the week I'm clear across the yard. Okay? And then I'm letting them out of a box. And this is the important part. I put them in a box and I'll start in the middle of the yard and I'll let them all out and they'll land on the roof. But only do that when you've starved them for 2 days. Don't feed them anything for 2 days so they're good and hungry. Okay? When you let them on the box, they land on the roof, you're going to feed them. They'll come in through the bars, you'll feed them, and 6 or 8 times that very same day, hurry in there, grab them, put them in the box, take them back out, let them fly in, let them come in, let them eat, and just keep going further and further back across the yard. So that's 6 or 8 times before they get enough feed so they won't come in anymore. Some of them will stay out after they've had so much feed. Okay? So anyhow, that's the way I train my birds. And again, when I really want them to have their first flight, I'll go on the other side of the house. And that's the real test. Coming over that high roof to come down in here. It's true that a few times some of the birds will land on the roof and you take a ball and you throw it up there and chase them off. They land on the wire, you chase them off. Be very persistent. Sometimes at first, very persistent. I've got my latest round of birds that I've got to the point now where I'm going to take them to the porch deck for their first flight from there. Hopeful they'll fly to the loft, come in and eat. And this is their maiden flight. So let's give it a try. As you can see, they come in pretty good if you measure the feed properly. That's your only control is food. You can see we had a slight interruption here. That other kit that I was flying came down while we were in the process of working with the other, and I just wanted to show you coming in through the bars and how they came through. So we had a slight interruption there. Now we're going to get back to that young kit flying off of the back porch. See, I put them in a basket, and I'm going to take them across the yard and up on the porch.
flying the wrong way, but we'll give it a try anyway. Very nice. First time they fly, flown like this. Once a couple land, then the rest will start to come down. Okay. Here they're starting to come down now. Kind of scattered a little bit. But
That's the weather for video, but we're going to do it anyway. This is my first tape in what I call a video visit series. Hopefully it'll be a very successful venture. I think it'd be very educational for roller fanciers all around the country to do this, exchange tapes, instead of spending hundreds of dollars in airplane tickets and wearing out automobiles visiting each other. So today I want to go ahead and show you my setup, my soft loft, my kit loft, show you how I fly my birds, and show what I feed them and how I feed them and what I look for. And hopefully it's not too overcast. We'll kick them birds out and see if they can put a show on for you. I'll wait till how they fly before I make excuses. So I've been in the business, I shouldn't say a business, I've been in the sport close to 25 years now. I'm only 28 years old, but my dad corrupted me at a young age. And I always liked them birds that did the somersault, so kind of hooked on them. I've had all sorts of breeds, from fantails, the kings, the parlor rollers, but I always had the rollers around. And since about 1969, I've had nothing but rollers, hardcore. Okay, let's go to the stock loft. All right, this is my stock loft, what I'm using. When we bought the house, this building was already here. It's built into the hillside, along with a built-in chicken coop, and stays pretty warm in the wintertime and pretty cool in the summer, and it really helps things out. I haven't yet convinced the wife to put a big fly pen on it yet. That's coming. I wanted to put it up the south facing here so they have some sun out year-round. But so if you're wondering where's the fly pen, there is none. So I keep the door here open as much as possible, and I also have lighting in there so that they can see what they're doing. So I've got 3 compartments in there. I've got my family of Pensum birds that I've had since about 73. And then I've got a family of Ole Harris birds from England that I'm playing with, and a lot of roll downs in that group. But the birds that don't roll down are really hot. They're some damn nice birds. And then the other group, I've got some birds from Abdul Alizadeh of Toronto. They're basically a Bill Barrett family bird. And I was told by my friends in England that they're the birds they have. And not being able to fly to England and see their birds or afford to import them, I got some birds from Abdul. And so far I haven't seen much out of them yet. I just got them last fall. But they're really nice type birds, and you can tell they're a performance family. We'll show them here in a minute. Okay? Let's go inside. These are my Pensum family birds here. I'm going to put them in individual cages. And then that section in the back is my Harris birds. Put your hand on the mask. This is my Harris family stuff right here. There's the chickens. Is there sound on this now? Yeah. These birds came, I got them from Dale Guthorbson up there in Lost Bank, Saskatchewan. Joe Keyser from California and Joe Borges imported these birds from Ole Harris in 1982. And part of the importation process was done by Dale in Canada. He quarantined at his loft for the 9-month period, I believe it was. And for doing that, Joe Keyser and Joe Borges allowed Dale to keep 2 pair and all the young ones he had raised. And so from those birds, I was able to obtain my Harris import and stuff. A lot more color in these birds, a lot of bald head patterns and pride marks. Some tortoiseshell, whereas my Pensum families are basically red check, dark check, and some badge, some bald head maybe. Okay, go on to the next box. These are my birds from Toronto, from Abdul. They're Bill Barrett family pigeons. Very typey, nice apple body, real good pitch in the keel, short. Boy, they look good. I just hope they roll as good as they look. They're an age right now, so I don't want to fool too much. They're off the egg. We'll put these in an individual cage so we can look at them a little closer. Okay? That's some birds about them. Shouldn't call them pecking birds, shit, they're mine. Had them for years. Come here, bird. Okay, that's my best stock in right now. Number 3, 1982. We'll go ahead and put her in the show pen, get a closer look at her here. Just to give you an idea of the head shape of this bird. She was a 30 to 40 foot spinner. Roll about once every minute. Sometimes on a good day she'd go 3 times a minute. Get an idea of her wing area. What I think is a very good wing. You've got not very big secondary, tertiary feathers area, but you got a good power stroke up here in your secondaries and your primaries. I think that's very important for the velocity of the roll. Also, the length of the bird. I go to the length of a hand, which is about 8 inches. That's what old man Penson talked about. From the base of the neck to the tail. A lot of people are breeding them smaller, which more power to them, but I have just as much success with this size pigeon. Her keel is short. I measure my fingers, about 3 fingers length. Here's the edge of the keel, and here's the front of it. So I put between this finger and this finger, and it's about 3 fingers. It's about 2 inches and a third, 2.5. But an all-around nice hen. She's consistently proved very well for me. Go ahead and put her in the cage here. Let me. I was trying to get him to stand just right. But she's what I'd call typical of my family. She's short, cobby, and just a doll. I really like it. Come here, turn around, give a little side view for my illustrious cameraman, Mr. Shannon here. She don't want to cooperate. She doesn't know what the heck that is there. But I guess you'd call that an ash red. I'm not into colors that much. I'm not too sure that camera is she. But this year I've got her made up to her full brother. We'll show you him in a minute here. And hopefully we'll be able to get a neat genetic spectrum out of him. Okay, Steve, let's do future loft builders. Don't build them so high. Have them just no higher than your hand. Birds are a lot tamer, and they're a hell of a lot easier to catch. Now this is number 3's brother, number 30. He's one of my favorite cocks. We'll go ahead and we'll get a closer look at him in the other. Look at his head shape, and he's what I call a pearl eye. Some guys call gravel. But this pearl eye bird, shows a nice power stroke wing. Not a real narrow wing. He could be a little less in the what we call tertiary flights. I'd like to see a step about right here between the secondaries and the tertiaries. He's short keel, nice short keel, nice 3 fingers at least, no less than 3 fingers. And he has a nice pitch. He tucks up towards the keel. It's very important. The bird hangs down in the back. The keel hangs in the back. I call that a deep keel pigeon. A lot of people call a deep keel pigeon the distance between here and here. I call it when the anterior part, or posterior, anyway, the rear end of the damn keel bone hangs down. This bird curves in, tucks nicely towards the vent bones. Very important. Let's put him in here and let him strut a little bit. But notice the lack of back cover. I don't really like a lot of back cover because I'm convinced it gets in the way of showing the true hole. Give the line level maybe where Steve. Okay, can see all around the body. Come on. So what the hell is that black thing looking at me here? But number 30, he's an 82 bird. Full brother to number 3 we just had in here. Every year he's produced me 3 or 4 really good spinners. You guys have got birds from me. You should recognize his band number and should see the similarities with the birds you got. Here's a good look at number 30. Okay, let's grab some more here. Pretty quick that time. This bird here is off of number 3 and off of number 7. That cock right there, that one with the white on his face, up on top there. He's an red check with a sprinkle in face there. That's her father. She was the finest bird I raised in 1984. She's really a smoker. She came in, it was amazing, she came in at 3 months of airtime, which would have been, 4.5 months old. She's what I call a high torquer or a hypercelerity spinner. She she doesn't lose much velocity at much depth when she rolls. She'll just sort of stand still in midair. She's that rare spinner that a guy gets once every year or once every couple years. Every bird out of this pair that she came from rolled. Had a couple roll down, but majority of them were very stable spinners, 20 feet, 30 feet spinners, very frequent, once to twice a minute, and they have produced very well. I sent a hen to a guy in Illinois, Bob Lockett, and before Weasel laid all these birds up, she produced some really good birds for him. And then another sister is in Billings, Montana, to Gary Apps. And that bird is so far produced some really nice looking pigeons. He hasn't had a chance to fly them yet. But the roll, I also had a sister in the kit loft made up to just a geek of a cock bird. He wasn't much of a spinner, but they made it up. And she dropped a couple eggs, and I put them underneath some homing pigeons, and that my boy has. And they raised two birds and both black hens. And the son of a bitches rolled their butts off. And so this family of birds, I've never put a pair of birds together twice. And say, but by golly, I'm going to put her parents back together next year, I think. But see the wing, the gap between the secondaries and tertiaries is a little bit of a step, showing these tertiary flights are a little shorter. And she's got a nice power stroke wing here. She's nice, short. Let's go ahead and put her in the box and get a look. What kind of pigeons do you raise? This is my boy Brendan. What kind of pigeons do you raise?
Homer.
Homers. Are they any good?
Yes.
How do you know they're good?
Because you're raising homers.
They fly from here to Billings?
I hope they do.
That's good. Do you like pigeons?
Yes.
Would you like to raise pigeons when you get older, too?
Mm-hmm.
That's good. Does Dad have good roller pigeons?
Yes.
See, I got him brainwashed. That's what you got to do to your kids. Let's go look at number 10500. This little hen also has a very good, that feel a lot better, huh? Has a very good pitch in her keel. When I talk about pitch, I mean how it tucks up to the vent bone. She's a real short bird. I thought when she came in about 3 months of airtime, I figured she was going to burn a hole in the dirt, but by God, she never did bump, not even once. She was very stable, frequent. Some days she wouldn't be so frequent, but she'd have off days like everybody when she's molting and stuff. But just a fine little hen. I bred her to her father last year, and the father has a little bit of a deep keel. And they only raising me, 5 young ones. 2 of them split or cat ate them or something. They disappeared. I don't know what happened to them. They might have rolled down, but I just lost them. And then the other 3, I gave one to Roger Robers in Wisconsin, nice red bald. Just a real nice spinner. He's about 30 to 40 feet. Wings straight up. Didn't have the velocity his mother has, but he's just a really nice bird, and Roger needed a cock bird, so I figured what the hell. Harris birds. Right off a pair of birds from Lily Harris. Her dad's a red-balled cock Belfield bred, I guess, and the mother's a little mother's a little blue bar beard, I think. Most of the wings a little more narrow in the secondaries here. Not much of a step. This bird was never flown. I just took her and I stuck her in the stock loft. She's got a really nice curved keel, comes up, tucks nicely to the vent bones. She's a 3-finger keel. The right length, not too long. Greg Sales thinking these birds are a little long. Well, Greg, take a look at this hen. Get back away from there a little bit. Nothing long about that bird, Greg. She has produced fabulous for me. Got her in '83. This will be her 3rd season. In '83, she bred a little black badge I got in there that just very, very, very good roller. Very frequent, very deep. I get she did produce me some roll downs, but the ones that didn't roll down, by God, are really nice. And this last year, she's raised me two little red ball head hens that are just identical in performance and looks. We'll look at them here in a minute, and hopefully they'll do some stuff for you in the air today. But very nice pigeon, very nice pigeon. Okay. All right, this is a bird from Abdul Alizadeh. It's a Barrett family pigeon. Abdul said this bird rolls 30 to 40 feet 3 times a minute. He said it's a rolling maniac. Just an excellent pigeon. He said he breed this pigeon for many years. It came off his best pair of birds. In fact, he's only given a cock bird to one other man off that pair. The Barrett birds, I should say Abdul birds, give Abdul the credit, have a little more chest in them, but they have a very nice tuck. They go right up to that tuck, nice pitch. And this is a cock, good length. I'll do a stuff for you. So, I got him last summer, well, towards the end of last summer, and I've got 4 in the kit loft out of them last year, and not spinning yet, but they're flying good, and they just look dandies. And you're doing a lot of flipping and stuff, but I'm sure they're going to come around. But as you can see, it's a fine cockbird. I don't know what color you'd call that, Greg. I'm sending this tape to sale. Let's call that a silver badge or ashy silver, whatever. Okay. This is a hen I've got made of that silver badge cock we just had in there. She's from Abdul also. She came from a pair of birds that Bill Barrett has that are down from some Penson pigeons. But she has a tremendous curve in her keel. The end of it just tucks. It's amazing. Wish you could feel it. But you can see, as I run my finger, it just tucks. There's the end of it right in there. Just tucks in there. Excellent. Abdul says this is one of the most consistent pigeons he's raised in quite a while. It's very frequent. Never varies from the norm. She's always rolling her butt off. He flew her 2 solid years. She's just been sitting on eggs, so she's probably going to take a nice dump here. But nothing wrong about these birds, and they're shallow in the back also, as far as back cover. I'm really excited about them. I hope they produce as good as they look. Okay, let's. Got two 5x10 lofts. Bob Lockett built that one for me when he was out here in 81. And I got this one built by a friend of mine. Paid him a pistol for it. But you'll see around the front, I got big doors in the front. Here's my sock loft. And there's the chicken loft. Chicken coop, I guess. Wife's got to have her chickens. Thought about putting a fly pin on this side, but that's where she wants it. But I want it up the south, so we still haven't decided yet. Let's go over and look at some of these kit birds, okay? This is my flying loft I'm using today. I use it all the time, too. Don't give me any shit for being crooked. I got lazy after I moved the vineyard. I got my holdover kit from last year in there. I got this year's young birds in here. I've got 11 in here right now. So notice there's no trap. I don't use traps. I fly out of the open door. It's called the English method. I wrote an article about it. So we'll show you how it's done. I'm going to take these birds off. They're pretty hungry. Hopefully they'll do a show for you. Well, I still got the kit inside it there. Let's hope they don't disappear. Well, it's all this nice grass out here in case you decide to hit the ground once in a while. But then again, I don't raise a lot of roll downs, you know. That damn shit's way the hell over there. Let's hope they don't get disoriented. Guy ought to breed some homing pigeons into them once in a while so they don't get lost so easy. I got that old hen there. She's working her butt off. Hopefully she'll want to come down. What I do with them young ones, the way I get them going is I put them out on a roof like this for about 4 or 5 days. Let them get to know the area, and then they'll go in on their own. And I get them trained to a whistle. Every time I feed them, I'll whistle. And so when they're getting down, coming off the roof to the whistle really good, then I'll start putting them in a cardboard box and bring them to the end of the yard here and letting them out of the box. And then they'll fly around in circles and everything. And they'll end up going to the loft, hopefully. But after you do that for about a week, 10 days, they'll start making short jaunts around the neighborhood. And with these birds, that's all you got to do. They're flying like a son of a bitch, you know, right away. Got some pretty, there she goes. Yeah, she can do about anything. You see the pictures you get that?
I think so.
Pretty sloppy. This is our first film, so give us a break, people. All it takes is one to come down, and all. You always got one dumb cockbird to watch the crew and everything. Always one stubborn. Having those young birds up on the roof like that isn't a good idea, but I was paranoid.
little black patch cock there, that's Abdul bird. These tortoises.
Getting some pigeons up there?
Put it in the sun.
Yeah. They're gonna be green. They're green.
Come here, Mike.
Some pigeons.
Come and get one of these names.
I don't like Homer.
Is your name Michael?
Yeah. Yeah. Then let Joey hold the one that's sitting.
Here, let him do that.
Oh, great, that's my hand.
No, there, Joe. Come on here. You guys all just stand up here. Stand right there. Let's put those back in.
This one? Oh, my head.
What?
You could eat it on this. Oh, yeah. Here, look, don't drop it. Don't drop me.
Hold this one.
Hold on. That's on the back. Okay?
Put your hand up flat.
My mom, she just started getting out there, didn't she? Your hands are too quick.
My name's Jim Brady, and this is Bill Dunstan, and we're from Euless, Texas. This is my loft back here. Last weekend we went on a little trip to Tulsa, Oklahoma, and we went to Tulsa, Oklahoma. We saw Maynard Love. He's been a flying roller man for about 60 years, and we went to Tommy Hager's place. He raises rare birds. After that, we saw a couple of roller men, Ken Bates and Dave Brazel. We went and saw Dave's birds fly. It was a real nice trip, and we'd like to share it with you. You're glad about rain now, I guarantee. There's a bunch going your shirt you want. You think China, you don't make fun. Come here, Oscar. Tell me Bill wants me to get a picture of you.
Because that'll fall on the
Let me get out of the way. That's all get right
Oh, now watch it break. Now watch it break. That's something that Jake folks go with it.
Quit laughing. Drop down? Not much. Stop in here. Like this. I don't even know. Hey, I know. Boy, you're not kidding. We had a big old, what do they call those? These birds, I put a lot of time into it. Bear in mind, we're not bear in mind, we're not professional years, and we'd like for Jerry to show you his loft and his birds, how he flies and so forth. Jerry?
Okay, this is my fly pen for my lasers and my doves, and I'd like to give them a whole lot of room where they can get out and get a lot of sun and exercise. I think this is vital, very vital to a bird's health. To be able to get plenty of sunshine and get out on the ground and pick the grass that grows in the pen. I'd like to take you inside and show you the setup that I have in here. It's maybe a little unorthodox, and a little bit dirty, but I'll still show you.
All right, Jerry, show us your breeding setup and where you keep your birds.
Okay, this pen right here on my left, I use to put my lasers in and my doves. And like for him to have plenty of room and everything. And I breed everything individually because I like to know the exact parentage of it. And I don't like to put my breeders through the process of raising youngsters, so I put them in the individual breed pens. I have 4 of these set up. And I just work with the main stock birds that I've got.
Where do you keep your spare birds, Jerry?
Okay, my spare birds I keep right here. This is the hen pen right here, where I keep my spare hens. Of course, I raise fantails too. And then I keep domestic flying flights for my feeders. And I've got the spare hens, all the spare hens in here. And I do have a few racing homers, not very many. And this pen right here will be the top pen. And I don't keep very many stock birds. I've got quite a few that I could use as stock birds, but I just try to go with the very choice birds. And the same way with the hens, really, because I like to keep the gene pool locked in as close as I can on the family that I wanted to have.
Well, the fanciers will get to see your birds fly in the video, so I think they'll know then that you've got some good quality stock. Jerry's now taking us to his kit pens. He flies outside. I think later on Jerry's going to go ahead and put his birds inside. Okay, Jerry, tell us about your kit pens.
Okay, these kit boxes I have set up here, they'll hold approximately 20 birds apiece. And I like a small kit box because it keeps them close and in tight. I like a wire bottom where you don't have a whole lot of mess to have to worry about and keep clean. It keeps your birds clean. And it cuts down on a lot of disease too, because nothing builds up for them to walk in to eat out of or whatever, and they get plenty of fresh air also coming through the bottom and the top.
You also have a kit pen right over here, right?
And then I have one on the other side of this building, but I don't have the wire floor in it, which I wish I did. And,
You fly 2 kits out of this one over here?
yes, 2 kits. This is where I keep my youngsters and train my youngsters from, to this box right here.
Now, later on, you're planning on building your kit pens inside, right? I see you already have a trap right there.
I have one on the inside, and I intend to add 3 more where I can just work everything from the building.
That's great. I think that'll really be nice. All right, let's go over to the table and talk about. All right, Jerry, we're now out here in the lawn. I see you got a bird in the cage there for demonstration purposes. How about let's go on over a few things and try and get your view on a few things. I know one of your pet theories has been the hole or no hole. I know you're a person who really believes in the hole roller, but you seem to think that possibly birds can draw it up past the hole. Do you have anything that will support that theory? Can you show us something?
Sure do.
All right, show us.
I've raised rollers for 14 years, and I've seen a lot of good birds. I've seen spins that have the bird to throw the perfect hole and excellent style, but yet I have seen spins where a bird could draw it up past the hole, make its wings go completely transparent, and just stand still in the air with extreme speed. And what I like to demonstrate, I've tried to study and figure out a way that I could pick out birds on the ground to determine where they were capable of doing this and what it took physically to do it.
You're not saying they'll do it just because of it. You're saying that they would be physically capable.
Physically capable.
Okay.
What they do or what they inherit genetically is something else. But now, if a bird is physically capable of doing it, I can pretty well tell you if it can do it.
Let me ask you one question, Jerry. Have you ever seen a bird do this?
Yes, I have.
Have you ever seen many?
No, I haven't.
Me neither.
I've seen 3.
That's a lot right there, isn't it?
It's a lot.
Show us what you're talking about.
What I'm talking about is that extremely rare bird. Okay, I'll demonstrate with this little hen. She's one of my flyers. She's this year's bird. And she's starting to spin. She's looking extremely good. And I think she hasn't hit that ultimate spin, but I think she's possibly capable of doing it. What I'd like to show you is something that if you try to do it, it's going to take a little time to pick it up and get used to it. It's not something that you can just take and do it right now and say, I've got it. It's going to take a little time and working with birds and learn how to hold them, how to work with them, and everything. First of all, I take a bird and I check it for a good stout tail muscle. That tail has to stand straight up. It has to hold together, be nice and wedged, and hold it there.
Looks like it's like one feather, isn't it?
Right. Also, the next thing I check usually on a bird, I'll check for the little apple body and the good muscle on each side of that keel bone. Then I check that keel bone to make sure it starts and it runs back to the vent and curves up and makes a good rounded chest. Then I take and examine the bird's feather. This bird here has excellent feather, and what I'll try to show you is what I look for in feather. When I spread the wing, I want these feathers to have a pretty good little gap right in between.
Jerry, hold the bird up where we can.
Oh, okay.
There you go. There you go.
Okay. You will notice the primaries here. If you'll hold still long enough, it doesn't like that. The primaries have a good outside gap, and they start falling in right here with the gap coming out. You'll also notice that that is a good straight cross wing, and even if your secondaries here are a little offset, set down, that is the better, because it will give the bird more stroking power, and it'll have to give it a more of a stroke to get into the spin. If a bird has excessive feather and too much width in its feather and too much length, it doesn't have to give the full stroke to complete the turnover in its spin. So it's not going to do any more than it has to do that. That's why you see a lot of birds that don't get their wings much past that, because that's as far as they have to go.
Catching a lot of air too, right?
That's it. And when you've got a bird that's got the narrow feather and the secondaries are set back in here, it has to give the full stroke in order to do the same thing, and that's where you get your good style in your spin. What I'd like to demonstrate here now is how I determine whether a bird is physically able to roll up into literally nothing. First, I'll show you how I hold it. I take it, and I just take the bird in my hand, and I take the wings between my two fingers right there, and just hold it like that. Then I'll take these fingers, lay it on the tail, take my thumb, hook it under its beak, and put it in its natural position to roll. This bird shows it can roll up and throw a nice little triangular hole.
Shows it's definitely capable, doesn't it?
It is capable. If it wants to get excessive speed, it can roll it up. And it can draw it up to that type of triangle, which is a little smaller.
Where'd the hole go?
Okay? The hole that you see there is extremely small. Now, what I'm talking about when a bird shows no hole is distance from where you're looking at it can be mighty deceptive. If you take a bird with showing a hole about like that, like this one was rolled up, and you walk off 100 feet, you're not going to be able to see that hole. And the flying height of a bird at 200 feet is just a good average flying height. That hole is not going to be visible. I don't care how good your eyesight is. Because when you take a bird and it's up there spinning and it's in the spinning position and it's showing a hole like that, I can walk back here 100 feet and you try to visualize and see if you can see it. And I like to demonstrate that because I know there's going to be controversy on this.
All right. Hold on a minute, Jerry. Let me just move back.
Okay.
And let's see what it looks like.
Okay.
All right, Jerry. I can't see any hole. Jerry, that was really interesting. What about slickness of feather? How do you relate that to the spin?
Well, slickness of feather is more or less related to condition. If a bird is in excellent condition, it's going to be good and slick in the hand. It's going to be where he just flies. He's smooth. If a bird is not in good condition, he's going to feel all fluffy, feel like a puffball in your hand.
Do you remember when we talked to Joe Quinn in Ohio, spent some time with him, he talked about the friction barbels, how that was actually the element that made the difference, not the hard or soft feather.
Right. The barbels that Joe was talking about are in the base of the feather here, and they connect each feather as they overlap and interlock them.
Kind of like that, like Velcro on shoes, right?
Right. And if a birds have been bred for quite some time, this hasn't been followed to or observed, and the feather condition watched very closely, they will lose that tendency of those barbels to hold close, and that is where you get that fluffed feather feeling in your hand. And the bird it can be slick, but it's still real fluffy.
Uh-huh.
That's not what I call a good, tight, feathered, slick bird.
Be kind of spongy-like?
Right, spongy. And when a bird of that nature is in the spin, your feathers, it's going to just give a fluffy looking spin. It's not going to be a good, smooth, what I call liquid spin.
Uh-huh. What about as far as feather covering the hole?
The feather, there's no way the feather can cover the hole, because when a bird goes into spin, and it is in this position, here is your bird. And when that wing is passing over that, like that, I don't care how much feather the bird has got, if it's given it the full stroke, you're going to still be able to see the hole.
Okay, so you're saying that while the bird is rolling, the feather won't blow up. Can you give us a little indication why? Is it the direction the bird rolls in, the way the feather rolls, or what?
Well, when a bird is spinning, it's pulling the feathers out. It's got an outward force on it. And when a bird is in this position and it's going over and it brings its wings down to complete that spin, and it's doing it extremely fast, you can take and just hold a card in front of a fan. And you can have a hole in it, and you let that fan turn or whatever, and you take your hand and do this. You will cover the hole, do that. If you do it fast enough, you're not even going to be noticeable of anything even going in front of it.
I see. So the power of the stroke is going to have a lot to do whether you can see that opening or not.
The stroke is what makes the hole visible. Now, if a bird, like I said, does not get its wing up, and it does not give the full stroke, and it's in the X position, that's a trashy spin, because it obliterates the hole, it obliterates the stop.
It's over the whole area more often, isn't it?
Right.
Okay. Now, let me ask you a question. Now, we've talked about the things that I think we both agree on most things, as far as what makes a good spinner and what we're looking for. What about different families? What are your thoughts on that?
Okay, in different families of birds, it takes a certain type of bird to be able to roll up and spin and show you the hole. If a bird is typed right, it can do it. It can be big, it can be small, it can be medium size, it can be long, it can be short. If its type conforms to its physical capability. I have seen a lot of birds, as long as you can take them and they can fold it up, their type is right. I mean, I've held a lot of birds that could not do that, and their type is off. They're either too long in the back, or they don't have a good tail muscle, or it's too stiff, they can't bring it up. Their neck muscles right in here, they can't get
too big, too bulky.
Right. Well, it's not necessarily a bulky head. That doesn't affect it as much as the muscles in here. This is something that you have to look to, because a lot of people, they don't really know what type it takes to spin. I guess there's a lot of people that haven't even seen the hole.
Probably not.
And if they haven't seen it, then how can they expect to know what to look for in a bird to throw it, you know?
Well, let me ask you this question while we're on the subject of families and so forth. What are your thoughts as far as individual breeding and colony breeding as far as maintaining a family?
The only way you can maintain a family and know for sure of what you've got is to breed individually. Because when you breed in a colony, I don't care how careful you are or whatever, you're dealing with pigeons. And they are going to intercross on you irregardless of what you do.
So you're just not sure of what you're getting then?
Right. You can look at a lot of pedigrees that people give you or whatever, and if you know anything about color genetics, you can look at that, and they don't even stand up, because there's no way possible that the youngsters can come out of the parentage that a lot of them do, because of color genetics.
Okay. Well, listen, Jerry, you've covered some interesting topics for us, and I'd like to thank you for being a part of the NBRC video. Thank you.
Thank you, Carl.
Carl, I'd like to get your ideas and views on a few items.
big time filming bird. Now, I got those pretty still, I think. Bust. Pop them, Jerry. Whenever you're ready. What harvesting bird? Pop them. Whenever you're ready. Good shot, Andrew. That's beauty. Was that the little yellow? Really? I think. Good, Jerry. They just turned, didn't they? Now do it. Well, if you could get them to bust right. What do I got?
guess. Really? Well, I think. Now. Just as you said, huh? That was good.
I wasn't doing that. Yeah. Oh, there's up over here, then. You that one?
Yeah. Okay. NBRC video. Thank you.
Thank you, Carl.
Carl, I'd like to get your ideas and views on a few items here that you had set down that you was wanting to go over. And the first item I would say would possibly be, give us your ideas on what you would consider the wedge-shaped or cone.
Okay. First of all, Jerry, a while ago when you were going over all the whole theory and so forth, I agree with all those things. The thing that I would add to it would be that cone shape. The bird's not so narrow. Remember when you said the bird's going back in, and so forth, the kill running back to the vent? I like that. Notice how the bird has like a wedge, like you'd use on a sledgehammer, has that shape to it. There's a little more body over it. This is a young bird too, so this, how old is this bird? Maybe six
It's
months
approximately 6, 7 months old.
Okay. This bird should get a little larger, a little more body on it, but I like that built to be there. I don't like birds that just run straight back, don't have any conformations, you know. You can kind of see from that what I'm talking about. I think those are the birds that are powerful enough to spin and stay in the air with it. You remember the little hen I had that weighed about 6.5 ounces that could go through 2x4 wire?
Right.
Remember a little hen?
Yeah.
She could spin, but the problem with her, and she was about that weight when she was 2 years old. She was the type of bird that she'd tire out. She'd tire, and consequently, when I did breed her, her youngsters were the ones that I would lose in the overflies or in high winds. Birds that have a little better body, they're the ones I think can make it back. They don't get lost as easy. They can fight their way back. They've got the body, the stamina. It's just the same principle as athletics. If you don't have the body to stay out there and perform, your limitations are just that limited.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, another point that you wanted to cover here was on birds that, well, let's see, I'm kind of lost here on balanced mating. Would you like to cover balanced mating?
Balanced mating. Bill Pensum said in his book a long time ago, I think he wrote it over and over again, about mating best to best. My idea of best to best is the best possible pair you can put together. You look for those characteristics that are there. You look for the bird that's alert, intelligent, has a certain amount of calm to it, but at the same time the bird doesn't just sit around. It's not dumpy. First of all, I think you and I agree that really the only birds to be bred from are those that excel in the air. I think it's only then that you start to select your breeding stock.
Right.
Frequency. You have two birds that are what I would call on the borderline of frequency. They are extremely frequent, but yet they can stay in a kit. I believe if you put those two birds together, the possibilities are that you will get a substantial amount of birds that are too frequent. So by that I'm saying you have this margin of error and this margin that you work with.
Okay.
You take that bird that is right on the verge of almost being too frequent. It almost wears itself out, and you make that bird to another bird that is possibly not quite as frequent, but still plenty frequent. I think frequency is important in rollers.
I agree with you.
The depth. You wouldn't necessarily want to put two 60-footers together. I'm not saying put a 5-footer to a 60-footer, but you don't want to overdo any particular thing. If you have two birds, when we talk about families, birds will vary in size and their look, the look about them. If you want to improve your family, you have a particular bird that is maybe just that little bit short or maybe that little bit long in any particular area. You balance that mating by using something that will improve. I think you always want to be improving your birds to try and bring them along a little further. I think that's how you build a family. I think this is in the stage where you're building a family. By best to best, what I'm saying is that you take the best two birds and put them together as they qualify towards one another. Then you put your second pair together, your third pair. And as you're going down the line, as you make however many number of pair you make, 8, that's all I use is 8 pair. I think that's plenty. You'll end up compromising towards the end generally, until you get to the point to where you have such an established family that your compromises are less. I think that's what we're breeding for. It's less of a compromise when we pair our birds up.
Right.
But I think the essential element is that the birds perform in the air to excellence, and that they be flown out for a substantial period of time, 1 year minimum.
I agree with you. Let's take a little break, and back we'll continue with the interview with Carl. Carl, give me an idea here now on what makes a good spin.
Well, in my mind, I think the most important thing, actually there are 3 things that without any one of the 3, it's not a good quality spin. That would be, of course, speed, tightness of the roll, and straightness of the roll. Straightness is one of the things I think that's overlooked so much. By straightness, we're not talking about the angle of descent or anything like that. What we're talking about is a fluid drop to where the bird drops straight. It doesn't have any of this shaking going on in the spin. It's a straight drop. It looks like the bird is spinning down a pipe, coming straight down. Speed can only be really measured by your sight. People talk about different things. I correspond and talk with a lot of people over the phone. Only way you can really sit down and ascertain these things is to 2 people at the same time see the same thing and then talk about it. I've heard people talk about extremely good velocity at my loft or someone else's loft when it was really nothing more than just average speed. True high velocity has the appearance of no motion. It has
Okay, let me ask you a little question here. Okay. Have you ever witnessed the ultimate spin, what I call the ultimate spin, and the way I described it?
Very few times. Very few times.
But you have seen it?
Sure have.
Okay, what percentage of roller people that raise rollers or has birds that fly them do you think that has witnessed this?
Gosh, Jerry, that's a real hard question to answer, but I would say there are just very, very few people who have ever seen such a thing. And even some who possibly have seen it might not even know what they saw. It took me by surprise.
I know it. Okay, let's get into a few of your ideas on what you consider in culling and how you go about it and whatever.
All right, first of all, birds that change wings. That's the little vibration or the little flicker in the spin, the birds that isn't spinning straight. In young birds, I think you have to allow them a certain period of time to come out of these things. I think in young birds, a lot of times I think they are just dealing with the spin. They are not, it's not voluntary. What I mean by voluntary is that they are not voluntarily making their drop. They are trying to come out of it. They are fighting what they're doing. Some birds, I've had birds that over a period of maybe a year come out of it. Depends on how bad it is. If it looks like a dish rag, I think the best thing to do is just give them a little bit of time, then get rid of it. If the bird has extreme tightness and extreme velocity, and you'll see those little changes, give it more time. Sometimes it takes birds like that a year to come out of it. Even in your best spinners, I think you'll see birds that will change wings occasionally. It's very seldom, I think, you find birds that one spin right after another, without any exception, don't make that mistake as far as doing a spin that is not quality.
Mm-hmm.
Birds that bump coming in, that's strictly a no-no for breeding with. Occasionally I might keep a bird around and just fly it. If it just gets to the point where it bumps all the time, I'll probably get rid of it,
mm-hmm.
Regardless of how good it is. Birds that roll down, by roll down, to me a roll down is a bird that when it spins it comes down from any height. A bumper is a bird that just bumps at a low altitude, crashes into trees, things like that. Birds that don't fly properly. When birds are coming into the spin, you have to consider that and deal with them for a period of time and just use your own judgment. I've been on the verge of culling birds, I think you have too, and then they come out of it. Sometimes you put them up for a while, rest them, let them relax, get a little more body strength, they do better. But generally, anything that is not conducted to quality kidding and quality spinning should sometime sooner or later be culled. Frequency, another thing. If they're not frequent enough over a period of time, best thing to do is just get rid of them.
Okay. Can you give me now, let's kind of give people an idea of our feeding procedure. What is your feeding procedure on your flyers?
Well, Jerry, I think as you know, right now I'm trying this NutriBlend, and I've had good luck with it. I think, as you know, me in the past, I've always been a grain person. Mixed my grains according to carbohydrates, fats, and protein, fiber, all essential elements when you're feeding rollers. I think this is a thing on a day-to-day basis that you have to watch. Since I started using NutriBlend, I really like it with my breeders especially. I'm getting awful good-looking youngsters coming out of the nest. They're strong, they have vigor, they're just what I want. In the flying birds, I still keep a little bit of grain, but right now I'm just about feeding my flyers straight NutriBlend. And right now I like it. I can't say anything really bad about it. I like it.
Well, I have switched to that feeding program too. I like it real well. It seems to give me real good results.
Time will tell.
All right. Can you think of any other subject you might like to cover at this time?
Possibly the early and late developing. Remember we talked about families of birds earlier, different things in families. I think you know my birds. We've been in rollers together for a number of years, and I've, for the longest period of time, maintained early developing birds.
Mm-hmm.
I have some birds that come into the spin as early as 3 months of age, and I've flown them for years. You probably remember the little blue check baldy hen that I flew in the Bird of the Year fly this year. She's 2 years old, and she was spinning when she was 3 months old, and
right.
she's still spinning today. To me, it's within the family. I think Larry Hubbard one time had those Belfield birds that they would come in about 11 months, and then several of them would roll down. And that was just the thing with those birds.
Yeah.
I think it's within family traits, genetics. I'm not exactly crazy about birds that come in very early. I like 5, 6, 7, 8 months, 9 months as a rule. But I think it is within a family line, and for someone to say that all birds that come in early roll down, well, that may be true in their family, but I don't think it is a hard, fast rule by any means.
I agree with you. Okay. Can you think of anything else now?
Well, just that I hope everybody enjoys their rollers. And don't take them so serious that it's a live or die situation. It's a hobby. Don't you agree?
Right, a hobby and a good sport.
It's a hobby.
Well, it's a lot of sport in it, too.
It's like a Miller beer commercial. Okay.
Okay.
At the end of this, you'll be seeing my birds fly. At the end of Jerry's interview, you'll be seeing his birds fly. And I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you enjoyed the NBRC video. Try and bear one thing in mind, that we're amateurs, and we've tried to put this together for the good of the hobby. Any of the proceeds from the film go to the NBRC for further development of videos, or just NBRC in general. We hope to possibly sometime in the future do something again along this line, maybe get some good slow motion. But if you really want to know what it's like to have to film these birds, then just get a camera out and film it, and it'll probably surprise you how hard it is to get good quality pictures, and how the birds don't look quite as good on the picture screen as they do in the air. This is Carl Hardesty for the NBRC. Bye.
Well, we've enjoyed it.
Camera.
Okay.
All right, tell me when you're ready.
Well,
Hardesty.
I, Zachary, take you, Lorna, be my witness.
talked about as far as addressing would be the proper type, what we look for in our rollers. But after the performance is right in the air, one of the things that we would look for would be type. I think many people have said before that this is one of those items that will help enhance the roller and its performance. I have a hen here that is what I would consider to be an ideal hen. I would call her probably a medium-sized roller. You notice the good, strong body, nice, slick feathering, tail, wings. She breaks up in a good, tight wedge. She has a good, solid body. Now, in comparison to size, first I'd like to show you my kit boxes. I like it from the top all the way to the bottom. I can fly as many as 30, 35 birds in here. I like 20, 25 birds in a kit. I use bee perches. I have pulls that I can open up my traps. I have a double trap system. I have 2 kit boxes here, and I have a small kit box inside. Inside I also have individual breeding coops. The question is sometimes put to the fancy as far as what is proper type in a roller. Proper type has been said before, if it's right in the air, it's right. I agree with that. But at the same time, certain types of birds seem to come more often than others. these birds are in the molt like they are right now, they just don't spin with the velocity. After the molt, this should be a pretty good kit. Stage now where they're losing the 7th, 8th, and 9th primaries, different ones at different stages, and they have a tendency not to fly as well as they normally would. Flying a little lower than normal. It's a nice clear day and they're not really climbing. I suspect in about 3 or 4 weeks they'll be in much better shape. They seem to get into a lot of tumbling aspects whenever they're in the molt. I think it hurts them to spin. They just don't really give themselves over to it. You see birds that will start and then stop, not really explode into the roll. Occasionally you'll see one do a decent job. This might give you an idea of what the molt does to the performing roller. They seem to be flying faster than what they normally do when they're in better condition. Of course, they're not flying that high. They're a lower height. See how they'll pull out of it just a little bit? Strange. Hunters in the back.